Complicated for sure, and the gas price roller coaster just keeps on chugging along. Over the spring, the price shot up well past $4 a gallon in some places. Lower now, but for how long? So what can be done about the pain we all face at the pump, if anything? Joining me for the mix, Republican Congressman Michael Burgess from Texas. He sits on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. And Democratic Congressman Earl Blumenauer from Oregon is chairman of the Congressional Livable Communities Task Force, which just released a report titled Freedom from Oil. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. If I could get just a quick answer to this one question from both of you, what do you think is the key to the high volatility of gas prices? What is causing that volatility? Congressman?
Well, ultimately, it is supply, and I realize there are other things that intersect with that, and certainly the traders and speculators do play a role. But as long as the supply is tight, the market is going to respond to those signals in the very volatile ways that we've seen.
Congressman?
I would agree with that assessment. There are questions about how much speculation enters into it, but at the end of the day, we aren't creating any more dinosaurs that lead to the oil supply, and there is a dramatic increase around the globe. The United States, even though we consume more petroleum than anybody by far, now it's down to about 21% of the world's supply. So we're competing with the Chinese, with the Indians, European Union, and inevitably gas prices and oil prices are going to go up as the supply continues to become tighter.
But I would say that technology changes, the world changes. And I was on your show earlier this year talking about the production of natural gas in this country. When I first started in the United States Congress in 2003, we were out of natural gas. We had no more, the supply was exhausted. Now we have almost limitless natural gas coming to us from new technologies. And to be sure, there are environmental concerns, but the world changes very, very rapidly and our technology changes.
But so you'd like to see more domestic oil production, correct?
Well, I don't think there's any question that that has to happen. Otherwise, we leave ourselves completely at the mercy of some people that don't like us. And again, the very profound volatility that can occur in the market. When the supplies are tight, the signals get magnified.
Well, Congressman Blumenauer, you've talked, your solution, or at least part of your solution, is livable communities. Get people to stop driving, stop being
part of the problem is that we're held hostage to the pump. We consume so much more than anybody else in the world. Our population continues to grow. There will be some technological advances, I suppose, but as Mike says, there are also environmental consequences. We're finding out with fracking. In his state, there are some oil wells that are getting more production, but at a huge cost in terms of use of water. And we're not going to change the international dynamic because you can pump more oil here, but you don't keep it here. By giving people more choices so that it's up to them, that's the only way that ultimately I think we're going to be able to cushion that.
And I live in Texas. You don't get anywhere if you don't get in your car and drive. So being able to have that individual transportation choice, I mean, that's at the fundamental root of our freedom as a nation.
But what about extra options, for example? I mean, getting people to take more public transportation, bicycles, wouldn't that help things?
First off, I'm a Republican. That's called rapid transportation, not public transportation. But yeah, more choices are good things, and no one would argue against that.
But would you accept, for example, electric vehicles?
Let's be honest about that. You plug in your hybrid, and what do? You're burning coal to drive to work the next day. And as much as people like to talk about plug-in cars, they're cute, but they're golf carts. They are not to the point. The technology is not to the point where those are going to replace anything. Again, in Texas, if you're limited to a 75 or 150-mile range, you're not going anywhere.
Well, actually, I've been in some areas of Texas where actually you can get someplace in 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 miles. The technology is changing in terms of hybrids, plug-in hybrids, electric cars. It's not true that it's all coal. There are changes that are taking place there, and being able to deal with Texas being a huge source of wind energy. There are opportunities to be able to diversify it.
Well, correct. And we do have nuclear energy in Texas, but unfortunately, every energy source that you want to cite, Earl and his friends will find a reason that the country will not be allowed to use it. That's what's got to stop.
We're going to talk about that next, okay? Because we're going to take a short break if we can. We'll be back with our panel in just a moment, and we'll also hear from an American who was fed up with high gas prices and actually took action. We'll be right back.